Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we have a couple of contracts here that we can do really quickly and easily. Science data from space around Moon and space around Minmus. Let's go. That's just free money right there. So we'll just hop over to something orbiting the Moon, like this Raven 0S. Excellent. And we will simply log this temperature, transmit it back, contract complete. Excellent. So that got us a pretty hefty chunk of change, as well as 3 science and 4 prestige. We'll head back to the Space Center. Actually, I should have gone to the tracking station. That would have been slightly faster. Wouldn't have had to go through 2 loadings. Excellent. Now I'm going to go ahead and terminate these debris flights, just because I like to keep this relatively brief. This list of things that we've got going on. Now, something orbiting Minmus, and we'll actually go for this Raven 0X rather than the station. Although, actually, in retrospect, no. We can go to the station, transmit back from the mobile science lab, and actually get a decent amount of science in addition to completing the contract. So, that would be the Ice Cream Maker 5000. I need to stop letting Valentina name these things. And we've got this science lab currently working, and it's currently got about 250 science. Not bad. So we will go ahead and transmit this. Shouldn't have any power issues with the amount of Gigantors we've got on this thing. Yeah, absolutely not. So there's that transmitted back. And contract complete. Experimental data from space around Minmus. Fantastic. Now we'll hop on back to the Space Center. And how much science do we have? 743. That might be enough to get something. Not that we really need anything in particular. I mean, a big old docking port. A bigger protective shell. Sure. Advanced motors might not be the worst idea to have. Other potential wheel models. Yeah, we'll grab that. We're getting very close to the end of the tech tree, though, which is fine. So let's check in here, see what else there is. Science data from surface of Minmus. I mean, we could put a rover there. We'll accept this for now. And let's check in on our flight status. Because I did want to work on the Griffin 3L. That is 47 days away. We just have time to drop a rover onto Minmus. We're just going to use the existing rover that we've got. However, I'm going to make one small tweak to it, because we learned that the wheels are still not exactly the way I want them. And the tweak that I'm going to make to it is these wheels are simply not going to have any sort of auto placement whatsoever. We're going to manually place these wheels. So we'll place one there, and we'll place one right about here. Checking rotations. Of course, the rotation here, wildly off. We'll rotate it like that, and like that. And now we should be able to, when we get to the surface, set them up exactly how we need them. So I'll save that, and we'll launch this, and we'll see how this ends up going. This should go fine, in theory. Okay. This is a simulation here. We're not going to launch just yet. We're just going to deploy this fairing, and we are going to revert this. So I want to check. These are going the correct direction. These are both inverted. That said, we can simply disable steering on the back wheels and invert the steering direction on the front left wheel. And that does the trick. And it looks to me Like they are all spinning the same direction. Yes, they are. Okay, so we'll revert that back to the vehicle assembly. And we'll just make those changes permanent. So we'll come into the fairing here. We're going to disable the steering on our back wheels. There we go. And we are simply going to invert the steering direction on this wheel. And this wheel is already correct. Perfect. Okay, so we should be ready to launch this in a non-simulated fashion. So let's get out of here, and we are targeting Minmus, which is honestly going to be just as much overkill as the moon for this thing. But let's go anyway. We've got a contract, let's get it done. This thing is such overkill, but the idea is that we are going to be able to go to further locations with this same craft. At least, that's the hope. So we're at an apoapsis of about 5 kilometers. Let's go ahead and start tipping over. We're going to be hitting max Q momentarily here. I just want to make sure that our prograde marker is nice and over for that. So we're attacking max Q at a bit of an angle. Okay, that looks good. Our next marker is that we make it to the 45 degree point. Just making some slight adjustments to our roll here. Here's the 45 degree point. And now we pretty much just need to head to the horizon. Our apoapsis is plenty high. There we go. We've just got ludicrous sums of DV here. And also, our thrust to weight on this particular flight... Okay, we didn't lose anything on that detachment, that's good. Our thrust to weight on this particular flight for our landing mechanism is going to be rather extreme. So we're just holding this position as best we can. I'm going to ditch the fairing now, and we should be able to hold this position slightly better. Excellent. We're about 3 minutes to apoapsis, and we will just circularize. How much DV will this circularization take? Only about 500. That is not bad. We'll head over to that marker. I'm a bit concerned about the current location of the sun and our electric charge. That said, we've got an alternator on these engines. We should be fine. Okay, let's get in position for this burn. This is 46 seconds, so T-minus 23 seconds is when we want to burn this. This is so ludicrously overkill for going to Minmus. But one thing I want to do before we get there is I want to limit this thrust, for right now anyway, down to 2%. And I'm just checking. It did not mirror that. That's okay. Down to 2% thrust. Okay. Of course, our thrust weight here is hot garbage, but that's fine. Over Minmus, we'll reevaluate when we are actually there. So we're now warping to T-minus 23 seconds. About 10 seconds to go. And actually, just going to accept a construction estimate in X4 on my other screen quick. There we go. And that caused me to miss my burn timer. Fantastic. I'm so good at this. It's fine. We'll still get into orbit, it just won't be quite as circularized. I'm not concerned. We've got so much DV. We are going to have to do an inclination change, which is the major fuel expenditure for going to Minmus over going to the moon. Otherwise, it's only like 50 meters per second further away. But that inclination change can be extreme if you don't launch into the correct inclination, which we did not. It could have been more efficient if we did, but our inclination is actually really solid right now. 0.5 degrees? Okay. It's less solid than I thought. Okay. There we go. So next up, we of course set our target to be Minmus, which is this guy right here. Set as target. We're pretty close to the descending node. At the descending node, I believe we want to go normal. Yes, we do. Okay, so we will head over to normal. We'll physics warp that turn. And we actually don't care about this maneuver node. I was starting to think that we weren't going to get there in time, but it'll be fine. Okay. So we are facing normal right now. And we are going to want to begin this burn in just a moment. We'll warp ahead about... Okay. That time warp was ineffective. Too short of a time warp. Gotcha. I would have had to manually time warp it. That's fine. We'll begin this burn right about now. We were a little late on that. It's okay. We can get close enough. It's only rocket science. This is good enough. Okay, we will head off to Minmus then. Minmus is currently located here, so we are going to want to burn sometime around our apoapsis here. We'll see how close that gets us. That's a reasonable encounter, actually. We'll have to fine-tune it. Bring it down to be something kind of like this. That is actually really solid. I like it. That's really, really good. Okay. We'll head to that maneuver node. We will physics warp the turn. It's only 3x physics warp. There we go. This is 4x. Excellent. Now, I have no idea what our orientation relative to the sun looks like currently. And that's a potential issue. We should definitely extend this solar panel. And I'm going to also put our various contraptions here into hibernation. We're going to see about maybe warping past this, hopefully, without losing our battery charge. Okay, our orientation is fine. Kind of a bit lucky. I didn't know that for sure. We'll turn our hibernation for our various bits off. Actually, I'm going to leave the Rove Mate's hibernation on. This is a 53-second burn, so we want to burn this at T-minus 26.5 seconds. So we'll go ahead and warp towards that. Little bit faster. Okay, 26.5. So I want to burn this now. And off we go to Minmus. It's going to be about another 30 seconds on this burn, which is absolutely fine. We have 51 seconds left in terms of fuel for this stage alone, our first stage. Not to mention this thing. And this on top of it. Like, we have 6 kilometers per second left after this burn. It's very overbuilt, but it's also not designed necessarily for going to the moon and Minmus. Okay, let's check our current position in the orbit. We, of course, do need to burn a little bit further. Yes. Still need to go a little further. It's amazing how far these last couple of meters per second gets you. That is close enough. Fantastic. So this is 6 days away. We are going to add a maneuver here. This is going to be a retrograde maneuver. And we're going to bring this down to about there. That'll be fine. And we'll decide where we're coming down in this orbit a little later. Although I'm thinking maybe in these salt flats. Or not salt flats, but these... I think these are the lesser flats. And these are the greater flats. But something along those lines is probably what we're going to end up doing. I'm not 100% sure on where we're going to come down yet, but something like that. Let's check our orientation. Our orientation looks good right now. So let's go ahead and warp to here, so that our solar panel remains active and keeps getting us electricity, because that would be a problem if we didn't. We don't like to talk about what happened to our first attempt here. So now we're going to go ahead and flip to the maneuver node, and we're going to see how our orientation looks. We'll physics warp the turn, just to make that go a little bit faster. Okay, orientation looks good. Surprisingly good. So we will go ahead and warp to this next maneuver. Fantastic. This is going to be an 8-second burn, so we want to burn this at T-minus 4 seconds. I'm actually going to physics warp this, as opposed to regular warp, because I want to make sure that our alignment is correct. Okay. So we want to burn this right now. Okay, we'll call that good. Yeah, that's fine. Excellent. So now we're going to need to descend to the surface, and before we do that, I kind of want to move us around over to here. And man, we have so much fuel. But I also want to check our thrust to weight. 1.02. So we should probably boost this up to about 2.5. There we go. Come on, give me 2.5. There you go. Excellent. Yeah, we're tumbling a little bit, but it'll get under control. Not too concerned about that right now. Okay, that puts our thrust to weight to 1.27, which is definitely still on the low side. Let's actually bump this up to 5. Well, let's stop the tumble, so this is a little easier to work with. So at 5% thrust, I didn't quite get there. There we go. 2.55 thrust to weight. Okay, we'll see how that feels. I mean, we're mostly just going to use this for the briefest touchdown period anyway, right? So that's fine. We'll go ahead and orient ourselves retrograde since we're right here anyway. We may as well. Okay. Honestly, I'm not sure we're going to burn anything out of this tank. if I'm perfectly honest. We are, however, going to warp around to here. Oh my. Got it. We're going to keep that for right now. And we'll transmit it once we have power again. There we go. So for our transmitter, we will allow partial, and we will transmit this data. %, transmitted. 75. And we're good. 45 science added. Excellent. We're, of course, flipping around to orbital retrograde, which was exactly the plan. Okay, there we go. And where are we going to come down? I actually think right about here would be halfway decent. So what we want to do is I'm just going to use that as a marker, and we're going to go into surface retrograde. And we are simply going to warp forward towards this node. Just a couple of minutes here. That's our mint getter there, or one of our mint getters. We'll align to surface retrograde again, and then we will burn this stage to stop our horizontal motion. Okay. There we go. Now, we've still got 118 meters per second in this stage. But that's okay. We're going to crash that into Minmus's surface and hope that we get a seismic reading off of it. Because that would be very convenient indeed if we did. And then this stage is what we're going to primarily use for our descent, even though this is really supposed to be our interplanetary transfer stage. I mean, we're not going interplanetary with this mission, so it definitely makes sense that we're going to have a little too much DV here. There we go. I was just aligning us up a little bit. Most of our surface speed is now dealt with. I feel like we've still got a little bit. Maybe not. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to quick save here, just in case I make a warping error. And I'm going to warp us down to about 10 kilometers. Okay. I'm actually going to take us down a little further. We're not moving very quickly. We'll go at 5 kilometers. Yeah, there we go. This is a bit more like it. So let's just brake a little bit. That's plenty. And most of this stage is definitely going to be wasted. So we will just warp this down. I was hoping we'd get seismic readings. Apparently not. We'll just warp this down to about 2 kilometers here, and then we'll brake again. No sense being concerned about conserving fuel. Okay. And at this point, I do want to turn us up this way because I can see that our horizontal speed has developed a little bit. There we go. We'll flip back to retrograde. And at this point, I think we'll waste all of this remaining fuel. It's a complete and total waste. But this is more than we needed. So away it goes. We're going to stow this solar panel for right now. Okay. These engines are definitely real weak. I was expecting a little more thrust to weight than this, but I think we're good. I mean, we're only moving at 13 meters per second right now. 10? Yeah, we're fine. This is 4 meters per second. 3, 2... We're still decelerating. Okay, I'm going to fully cut this throttle for a little bit. We'll fall a little faster. Okay. Now we'll decelerate down to about 1 meter per second. And just gently come on in for a landing. About like that. Brakes on. SAS off for right now. These brakes are not doing a great job of braking. We are slowly Whoa, 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 whoa. SAS is off. Why did we tip like that? No, 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 no. Now that's interesting. It's very interesting. I mean, we can recover this. I'm just going to quick save in case I mess it up. But we can recover this by turning our SAS on. In theory. Is our SAS not powerful enough for that? Oh, that's set to SAS only. Okay, so we'll set this to normal. And we'll set this to normal. Yeah, that's more like what I was expecting. Okay. So now we're able to do this nonsense. Which is indeed nonsense. Okay. Now we can turn our SAS off. And we'll set this to SAS only, and this also to SAS only for right now. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to quick save in case I mess up this decouple, but I shouldn't. Especially with how low this thrust to weight is right now. And off it goes. Fantastic. So our rover is now deployed here, and we are going to extend this solar panel right on out. We'll grab our atmospheric pressure scan, and we will transmit this right on back. Turns out there's no atmospheric pressure here. It's a shocker. There's our contract complete for surface science data from surface of Minmus. We'll grab a seismic scan, and we will transmit that as well. And realistically, we can turn this down to a minimum science of like 1.0. There we go. We'll grab this temperature scan, transmit that as well. Excellent. Can we continue to? We can, but it won't get us anything. Okay. So we'll grab this gravity scan and transmit this as well. That thing is not going very quickly. It's, potentially going to come back. It'll run out of fuel eventually. Very eventually. It's just dancing. I'm okay with it. Okay, so I'm going to time warp for a bit here. And we'll just let that do that. Excellent. Okay, so there's all of our data here. Fantastic. We'll keep these for right now. And I just want to do a couple of quick tests here. Of course, the lights work. And it looks like the rover works. Certainly it works a lot better than the... actually, if we turn the SAS on right now... Okay, so it's the SAS being on that leads to it having this sort of torque effect. Interesting. Actually, no, it's not the SAS being on that leads to the torque. I think it's due to some level of lack of traction That said, we can turn the traction control up or down on these. We can turn the brakes way up as well, which is probably something that we want to do on this surface. There we go. Excellent. So this is now, after a few false starts, a fully functional rover. Excellent. So we can use this rover for whatever science we need to on the surface of Minmus. That's great. Now, we still have our mission to Ike going on. That will continue, and we may work on that next episode if we don't get another contract. Until then, however, you can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings. And I will see you all next time.